I mean, that's the first lesson. You should have this whole process of enrollment through connected centers. Now it looks easier said than done, because ultimately you are talking about some 1800 odd centers. I mean, look at the exercise itself is gigantic, it's mammoth. I mean, you have 1800 centers which have worked around the clock, if I may use that word, for about 3.5 to 4 years to get such information, I mean, for about 6.5 crore people. So, I mean, if you look at it, do you have lines which can allow you to capture this information real time, online? I mean, that's one question, but possibly in the hindsight that should have been the case. Now, what we are actually trying to do is sort out that particular problem by integrating it now and running a dedupe on this entire exercise. In fact, when you talk to the technology partners, they will tell you that there are not really large number of global experiences on such kind of dedupes also. Because most of the reduplication exercise of all the biometrics is done at the time of enrollment itself. I mean, the computer will pop up that this individual has already been registered or enrolled. But this is possibly the first time that we are running a dedupe on a database post facto. But once this entire exercise is done and when we clean up the database, now it's only a question of capturing the information of the individual, residual information, so residual citizens. So that would not be such a huge task, and that's why we'll be using the e-Seva centers which are already connected to a centralized architecture. And in fact, this whole database also would be part of the data center that is being set up by the IT&C department. And that data center is going to be a world-class infrastructure which is being created. So ultimately you have a connected environment there, and then cases of migration, transporting, updating, and I mean, the basic fact about database management, and technical experts will tell you that there has to be only one single integrated database. And then the updation should be through a subconscious process. I mean, when you do an updation, it's not as if somebody has to update that information. It should happen as part of a process. While you issue a card, the card itself updates the information and then gets issued. So that kind of a process would now be built into once we have this information in a kind of a unified architecture.
So what is the approximate size of this database in terabytes? I'm talking of
technology partners are here. They would explain to you the kind of, in terms of the, what kind of a size it is in an individual iris image.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire
database.
What is the size?
What is the total size of the database?
6 terabytes.
It's 6 terabytes.
Okay. 6 TB.
So most of the eGov projects, if not all, they have some geographical sensitivity. What I mean by this is that these projects will mandate the use of an accurate land-based data, particularly like land records or urban planning or property tax management kind of projects. And this land-based creation envisages the use of either satellite imagery or the aerial photographs or an extensive field survey. All these activities are very time consuming and very protracted. This would perhaps impede the progress of the project and finally may even nullify the expected outcome of the project itself. My question to the panelists is, particularly Mr. Jaju and Mr. Hegde, who as a policymaker can decide that for these kind of projects, they can possibly de-link the acquisition of images or the aerial photographs and then give it to the independent organizations like NISG and see that the acquisition happens much faster in an accelerated way, and then the solution provider goes about implementing the solution. This would, whether I'm not sure whether I'm tangent to the content of the topic of the session, but this was the concern which is faced by the vending community.
I'll just give you an anecdotal account. I mean, when I was a municipal commissioner in Hyderabad, we had a planning commission project. I mean, now the project is almost completed, and I think somebody is making a presentation also on that project from the NIC side. In that project is about the mapping, the point that you're making, and that was about the utility mapping. And that project involved a lot of information to be captured through the satellites and the imageries, and then ultimately build them together through a GIS network and plot onto that all the utilities in terms of the water supply lines or the electricity lines and whole lot of infrastructure which was mounted on that particular piece. I mean, the point that you're making is that acquisition of the images takes a lot of time. I won't agree there. I mean, it's not about that. I mean, the technologies have become very good these days. and especially the space technologies, and the acquisition of images is never a problem. And the National Remote Sensing Agency, which was one of the pilot organizations here for that particular project, they got the latest images, and they could give those images to us in about 6 to 7 months' time. I mean, the whole problem comes as on...
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Typically, these projects will give a delivery schedule of, let's say, about 4 months, typically. And then the image acquisition itself, if it takes about 6 to 7 months, that we believe that perhaps would lead to any purpose. And then the flip side is that when these images and the photographs are to be taken at an appropriate time during a year, and if I miss that, then I am into a different season.
Can I suggest that this is getting into an unrelated topic? This is far too detailed. We have to take it offline. Sorry about it.
Sure,
Yeah? I think we'll take it offline. One last question for you.
Sir, good evening to you. Since e-governance projects, whatever we all envisage, will finally address the common citizen, the citizen of India. And most of the citizens are scattered in remote villages, difficult terrains and all. The key challenge that you may face is reachability. Reachability in terms of physical network connectivity, what I mean to say. So is it not a high time that eIndia Forum impress TRI and DOT to impose a regulation on all the service providers to lay fiber not in a single route. Typically, if you take a route from between Hyderabad to Bangalore, the right of way is accorded to all the service providers. There are at least 6 to 8 service providers. The right of way is given on that national highway only. It should be a mandatory exercise that no service provider should reach end A and NB on a similar same route, but they should cover different routes and reach the end B. Different routes. So now in the light of new USL licenses have also emerged. Around 12 to 13 new USL licenses have come up, like Videocom's, Datacom, and different SHAM system are different. They are all going to lay fibers. It is the right time for you to impress on TRI and DOT to impose this regulation such that all ROW permissions comes to you as well as TRI or DOT for approval. That will bridge the digital divide in future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, but there is nobody from TRA, there is nobody from DOT. Thank you for the question. No, thank you for your statement, sir. With that, I think we need to conclude the last session of today. Thanks a lot to all of you, and I hope